Hello, everyone. We are so glad that you are here with us. Welcome to Table Talks, where you have a seat at the table. And so I'm here today. My name is April Starks. I'm here with Martina Young, Vernice Mitchell. We are your hosts of Table Talk. And we're excited because the month of June, we're going to have a three-part series on a topic entitled identity. We're going to begin some dialogue and discussions on identity. And we first want to acknowledge the fact that we are in the midst of some very trying times as a society, as a community, as the world, actually. And we feel we actually had this topic planned some time ago, but we feel that it's still relevant for now because we are going to walk out some things from the situations that we are encountering. And it is very important that each one of us are secure in who we are. We're secure in our identity because when we're not, then we allow someone else to define what that is. And so we wanted to let you join us at the table for this discussion for all three parts. First, today, our first part, we're going to be talking about me versus me. We're going to start with ourselves. We're going to look into what makes us tick, what makes us function, what do we see as our strengths, and to gain a greater self-image, identity. And we're going to share a little bit about, where we feel like we've come from in that process, because that's a fight right there. Me versus me, that is a fight. And so we want to talk through that process with you. We want to hopefully share with you. And I'm just going to right now just ask Martina and Vernice if they would want to join on any insights on this topic, the main topic, identity, and then we'll just dive into what we're going to talk about today with me versus me.
All righty, Vernice, go ahead and jump in. You look like you're ready.
And I was going to ask you if you were ready, but but like April said, we have to define ourselves so that others will not try to place a definition of who we are. And so being solidified in the knowledge of who you are will give you, will be like a fuel to the roadmap of where you're going in life. Different situations arise. If you don't know who you are, you'll try to cling on to any situation or any another person's identity if you do not know your own. And so it's why it's very, very important. We all have to have an ID. Mm-hmm. With our state, with the government, we have to have an ID. A photograph of who we are. And so we have to know our identity just as we have to have that ID that we carry around. And so that is very important at any age. Yeah. We are ever evolving. And so, you have to know who you are as you grow, as you get older, situations change. And so me versus me, that is a very good topic because as I get older, I'm having to ask, who am I now in this season? And so, yes, I hope that you all get something out of this.
Amen. And
it's interesting that you must have been looking at my notes.
He was.
He was mad because I thought about that state ID, how we have the state ID. And to your point, to piggyback off of that thought is how ever so often you have to renew your ID.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It expires and you have to go and get it renewed. And most of the time you want a new picture because sometimes the pictures don't be turning out right. You go, I can't wait till I renew it again.
Yeah.
Because I want a new picture.
Yeah.
Because it now shows the new you. It now shows, maybe the picture you took 5 years ago, was this certain style. And now you've transformed or you've changed. So to your point, we have to be okay with the evolution that comes along with me versus me.
Right.
There is an evolution in that, and recognizing when we have to upgrade our identity. We have to upgrade our identity. We have to make sure that we go and get it renewed. ever so often, whatever that is
Yes.
for each person. We have to go get that renewed and be okay with that, and not allowing other people to look at the ID and say, that don't look like you. Well, it's me.
Yes, that is so good. I actually, my license expired. My birthday was March 27th. And so with COVID, everything closed. And so April 27th came because they give you a month after your birthday. And so everything was closed. So I was actually, didn't have a current ID. So I was riding around with that expired ID. And sometimes, this is good. Sometimes your ID has expired and people will try to identify you on the old identity.
Exactly.
And you have been renewed.
Right.
I am renewed. Don't try to ID me on something old, And so yes,
Exactly.
Martina, I see you wanting to
Because
jump on in.
identity is the thing now. But I mean, it really is. It's just so rich because, there's a lot of emphasis put on identity theft and different things where people are like stealing people's identity and doing different things. But the honest truth of it is that a lot of us have suffered from identity theft a large portion of our lives. And often it starts at a young age where we are identified by different things that we have experienced, things that we have walked through. And at times you have, where you have lived many years and still have no clue as to who you are. And even you can ask somebody, like, who are you? And oftentimes we will define our identity by external things like, well, I am a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I have this, I have 18 kids. I'm just kidding, y'all. But I mean, well, not 18. But anyway, so like different things like that, we use external things to define who we are. And the problem with that is that anytime those external things change, then if my identity was based off of that, then I no longer know who I am. But the problem is we didn't really know ourselves in the first place. And see, oftentimes those external things are really just masks. With me versus me, the fact is that when I don't know me, when I don't know who I am, I will begin to put on masks to suit whatever environment I'm in. And it really can become where it takes a toll on you emotionally because you don't know who you are. So then you become whatever, you become like a chameleon. You know what I mean? Like you change your identity for every situation that you're in, when the truth of the matter is that we really need to learn who we are so that we operate based on the distinction of who God created us to be, rather than what everybody else says. And I'm gonna say this and shut up because y'all hit on it though with that ID. One of the things that God ministered to me through was my Sam's membership. So with my Sam's card, I can take in somebody with me. That Sam's identification card gives me the ability to go into the store and to participate on the benefits of that ID, of being a member. Now, you can take somebody in with you, and that person can buy things as long as they're with you, but they're not able to go in on their own. And oftentimes we operate in the role of somebody who is accompanying a member. And so sometimes we do not access our full benefits because we have not had our individual ID made. I want to be able to go in and get everything that my identity, calm down, girl, that my identity entitles me to, because I have membership privileges. I don't have to wait for somebody else to take me in. I know who I am. You know what I mean? But that's that's the process. So that's what we're digging into, y'all. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. That is a part of the process, and I think that's good that you say that. That if I am welcoming someone in with me to Sam's Club because I have a membership, they always run promotions. That if you help someone else become a member, and that's our goal here at the table. Our goal is that as we walk out the process, and we have now said, "Look, this is my membership card. My picture's on it, my name's on it. I go in and access everything that I can access in this club." Now I want to take you with me so you can see that this club has a lot of benefits. This club
Yes.
has, certain things that you can access that will give you quantities that you can't get somewhere else, right? And then when those opportunities come, I say, I don't want you to just come with me. Now I want you to be a member. And so recently, like our credit union ran a promotion last month that if you brought in a member, you got $25 and they got $25. And so I just kind of put that out there in hopes that people would join, because I know the benefits that my credit union offers. I have an excellent credit union. So I was just trying to say, look, somebody else can come in and get these benefits, not on my dime, not on my name, but we just want to get you in. So when even as we started this, our goal was to help people understand you have a seat at the table and be confident in your identity. We're not trying to make you something else. We want you to be authentically you so you can walk out the process of what you're supposed to be with your own ID card, your own confidence in who you are and what you're supposed to do. So hopefully as we start out by just pulling people in, like you said, coming in with us, the goal is to say, now we want to transfer so you can then walk out your own walk with confidence and assurance. And also when you were talking, and I'll be done, like you said, I'll be done. My son, I always share this jokingly a lot of times, even when I'm in different sessions, how when my sons were younger, I believe they were like 3 and 4, they were toddlers. And so we're driving in the car, and my oldest son basically stole my youngest son's identity. Just what you said, identity theft happens all the time. But this boy was like 4 years old. He didn't know what he was doing, but he stole his identity because I got pulled over by the cop because he got out of his car seat, and the police officer asked me to roll my window down in the back, and he asked my son, "What's your name?" And he said his brother's name. Pitiful. At 4, already stealing somebody's identity. So it was interesting because my youngest son was in his car seat like he was supposed to be, but he was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said that, it took my mind back to that incident, but then it makes me want to say this to our point here. Even right now, what we've gone through as a society is waking us up. Some of us have been asleep. We have been locked down, feeling like, yeah, we're doing what we're supposed to. Because my son he was doing what he's supposed to. He was locked in his car seat like he's supposed to, but he was asleep. And in the midst of him sleep, unbeknownst to him, somebody beside him was robbing him blind. And he didn't even know it. So if nothing else we can gain from what has gone on, it has been definitely emotional for a lot of us, but our goal is to encourage us to say, okay, wake up. Wake up. This is a good wake-up call for us, that you walk in the fullness of who you are. It's time to ask ourselves the hard questions. Who am I right now? Not what you was in the past.
Yes.
Like Vernice said, I'm renewed. Whether you think I'm renewed or not, that's on you. But I'm going to ask myself the hard questions, and I'm going to fight that fight of me versus me, so that now I can do what I have to do.
Yes.
So,
and in the me versus me, when you know who you are and people try to identify you on your old ID, having a voice to say, hey, that's not me any longer, and being able to use your voice to speak up and say, hey, let me introduce you to the new me. Because if they're in the process of finding your identity, you have to, I'm going to make this personal. I had to be reintroduced to myself, into who God created me to be, not who I thought my own understanding of who I thought that I was. And once I became more confident in who I am, I was able to voice myself and say, hey, that's who you thought that I was, but here I am. Let me introduce you to me, who I really am. And also being okay with saying, because when you run, I just want people to understand that you're going to run into those people who want to block and want to keep you in that old mindset. And being okay with saying, I have to detach from you, and not to say that, you're losing love for someone or whatever, but in this season, I just can't, I'm on a path to where that's not me any longer. And so being okay with that, having confidence, and for the way to find that confidence is in God, is through scripture, is through Christ. And the more you walk it out, the more you will emerge into the image of who you were created to be, and building your voice. I always tell my granddaughter, who is 3, use your words. Use your words. And so use your words to explain to not just others, to yourself too, because we're talking about me versus me, because you will have that conversation with yourself and be like, you have to like really be intentional with yourself. And because if God tells you who you are, your old man will want to rise up and say, look, this is who you are. And you're like, no. And so having that conversation with yourself and with others, and being confident in who you are, and being able to verbalize who you are now,
It
Martina,
literally starts there.
I see you.
Yeah, but because you hitting right on it. It starts with the conversation with ourselves.
Yes.
Like literally that digging into identity starts with, what is the conversation that we're having with ourselves? What are the words that literally we think on ourselves? And the biggest issue in me versus me is changing the dialogue, the internal dialogue that I'm having with myself. And sometimes it's a matter of, there are sometimes different things that we have experienced in life begin to write a narrative within our soul, and we begin to believe those things. And me versus me, I think about the years that, even though I was surrounded by, I had my mother, my father, different people around me, a narrative was written in my mind where I didn't feel loved. And like that narrative of being unloved that had been, I didn't even understand where it came from. And I really believe that it was like the enemy planting something in me. Yes, I did struggle with being heavy and different things, but I don't even think it was attached to that. It was just something that needed to be uprooted. And so like I had to allow the Lord to rewrite that and pluck up that old narrative out of my soul, because I would operate out of that identity.
Right.
Even in the midst of it, of believing that narrative, it begins to affect other areas. Sometimes we wonder why we're going through the cycles that we're going through. And sometimes it's because of what we have written internally about our identity. Sometimes we accept less than all because we think inside ourselves, that's all that I'm entitled to. But when we begin to like dig in and allow the Lord to uproot and show us, that's why the word is so important. Because for me, talking about feeling unloved, then you go look in the word and God says, I've loved you with the everlasting love. You know what I mean? Like, you are the apple of my eye. Wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a path. The walk of me versus me with identity is like a journey of discovering who we really are. And in the midst of discovering who we really are, also removing who we are not.
Yes.
Like literally, I have to remove who I am not. And when we get to that place, and then I'm going, it's like I think about like the woman with the issue of blood. When you go and you read her testimony, one of the big things is it says she said as she was trying to get into Jesus' presence for her healing, it says she said to herself, if I can only touch the hem of his garment, I will be made well. Her self-talk, even though she had been through years and years, it said that she had spent all she had. She had been to several doctors and had not been better. But she said to herself, we have to get to the place where we don't allow our past to write the story of our future. My past does not define who I am now, you know, and we have to be able to speak that to ourselves, like, you know. But anyway, girl, because you know we've gone a whole preaching parade. Lord Jesus, the table's real, y'all. Okay, go ahead, give another sermon.
No, that's right on point. That's self-talk.
Yeah.
That was great. And like you said, just even getting into the word to help us, because as Vernice was talking, I wrote down 2 Corinthians 5:17. We're new creations in Christ. Anybody that's in him, old things are passed away. Behold, it's a scene. Behold, it's something you begin to see and recognize. All things become new. And so when we get that down deep down inside of us, we're able to move on in manners that people may not understand. But the good thing about, like, even when we, how we phrase each episode, and this one in particular, me versus me, you think about boxing fights or some type of competition where it's versus an opposite or an opponent. There's always a winner.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, sometimes we have to recognize that in that fight, I'm going to win. That's a part of that self-talk. I'm going to win this fight because I'm going to dig deep inside and I'm going to make sure that I win. And I come out on top. Why? Because even the, you know, the word of God says we're going to come out on top, that we're in circles like this, that we're saying, come on, we need you to be at the table. We're going to share with each other. We're going to share. Yes. One time I got knocked out.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. Yeah, I mean, just being real, it wasn't pretty. Like in that season, I took an L right there. And we're gonna share those experiences to recognize that ultimately my win column is definitely gonna outweigh my loss column. And I'm still gonna be wearing my championship belt.
Exactly.
That's what we want to be. And that's what we help each other to be. More particular, just even, you know, as women, it goes for everybody. But as we talk about, you know, for women in our circles, I believe personally, when you solidify your identity, that's when you're able to sit at the tables and you're okay sitting at the tables with people who agree, people who disagree. People look like you, people don't look like you. People who've been raised in the same environments you have, people who have not. I mean, that, because you're free. I'm able to accept you because I know who I am. And so sometimes when we're not able to do that, we should kind of check ourselves again and look introspectively and say, why can't I sit at the table with that person? A lot of times we put it back on them. You know the old saying that one finger's pointing and then four right back at you. Sometimes it's something internal within us that keeps us from allowing ourselves to accept people at the table. Because I looked up something when I was just looking up identity, and it's rooted from a Latin word, a dentist, from Latin word. I took Latin when I was at Central High School. I took Latin, Vernice.
No.
Everybody's like, why are you taking Latin? I'm still pulling from Latin class.
She was preparing for her future.
Latin. No, sometimes I be thinking, why not take a Latin class? But I just went ahead and pulled it. I said, okay, some Latin. But I thought this was good because in the Latin, from the root of it, it means the same. In the root, identity, the same. And so I thought about that and I was like, wow, that can even be related to what we're going through right now. Even with all the tension and the turmoil amongst people, if we can get our identity, that's each person, getting their identity straight from the core, then you will be able to look at somebody as the same as you, as equal. You wouldn't look at their skin color and think they're different, or that they're inferior, or that, you know, like, how can I be with them, or just gain a rage or a hatred towards somebody. That's a heart issue. It's because something you have not tapped into the freedom that you can have in knowing who you are and
Yeah.
whose you are. If you can get there, then you're able to look at other people from a pure eye and perspective to recognize that ultimately we're the same in humanity. I'm not saying not see color. So let's get that right, or not see that the
Mm-hmm.
person's different. I'm saying that at the core, that you will begin to see we're human. We're humans. We are the greatest creation. We're the greatest creation of God. Humanity. You're able to see that we're the same in that way, and then appreciate the differences that we have. You
Yes.
want that diversity, yeah.
Yeah, something that you said, April, when you like sit at the table, and I wrote down, "It's not you, it's me." A lot of times, watch movies and they say, when they break up with someone, it's not you, it's me, and it really isn't the other person. It is me. That I had to really, and we have to really gain our own individual importance. To say I'm important to me. It's not you, or going in a room and feeling uncomfortable because you're uneasy or you don't know anyone. I can testify to that I would kind of shrink down because I would think and compare myself to other people, and I had really to think it's not them, it's me. So let me internalize and do an assessment of myself. That this is my nursing coming out. Let me assess myself, all areas of my life, and see what changes need to be made in every area of my life. And then slowly, gradually, it's not an overnight process. It's something that we are evolving into. I'm not the same person that I was last year, and so in it's not you, it's me. I have to focus on myself, and that's not being selfish, to say, I'm important to me. I'm going to learn about me. I'm going to learn the things that I like and dislike, and those type of qualities, and not to have to look to someone else and say, hey, what are they doing, and then gravitate to them. God has placed a seed within me that needs to be developed and grow. And like Martina, like you said, we have to pluck those weeds out that society, our family situations, culture, whatever, have put on us as our identity, when it's not truly who God created us to be. And so it's okay to say, it's not you, it's me. I'm going to work on me, and not feel bad about it,
That's
not
right.
feel bad about it, just to work on yourself and that's a part of self-care, is to know yourself, and for me also, with words, going back to words, I realized that I was being a bully to the most important person in my life, me.
Yeah.
With the words that I was saying to myself, some of the words that I was saying to myself about myself, I would never say to you two. I would never say those things to another person, but here I am saying it to myself, and I am the most important person in my life, so just being aware of the words that you're saying, being okay with saying, it's not you, it's me. I'm going to work on me. And if those people in your life do not agree with that, that's a meter for you to know who is supposed to be in your life. And so in me versus me, it's okay to work on yourself. And as women, hopefully men, you all will, watch us and get something out of this as well. Yeah. But as women, we are caretakers, nurturers by nature. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we put our own needs to the back burner, and don't even make time to get to know ourselves, to get to discover the gifts that God has placed in us. And so just taking the time to get to know, no matter where you are in the age spectrum, take the time to get to know yourself. Just a little bit. I've been raising children since I was 17 years old. I'm 45. And so, I had to sneak some areas and get to know myself. Mm-hmm. And that is just something that we have to make time to do, because we don't want to get to a certain point in our lives and say, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and so just finding that time to put yourself first and not thinking that it's selfish. It's me. It's not you. It's me. And so.
And that leads to like literally being in the place where I can deal with me and say it's not you, it's me, is where, which, taps into our next episode that we want you all to check out, which is me versus them. It's difficult for me to have effective relationships with others when my identity is off internally, and even as you were both saying, like literally, sometimes our inability to have unity, our inability to be on one accord, our inability to work together with others, really at the root, it's because of something internal. When all my identity is based on what race I am, what size I am, what church I go to, what all these other things, then when there's something that seems like it's threatening me in that area because my identity is based on that, then there becomes a struggle. People talk about women not being able to work together, and
Mm-hmm.
that really is not true for all women. But sometimes it comes to where if my whole identity is in this image that I have built, then anything that is in conflict with that image, then I will, instead of embracing others, I will begin to tear them down. And
Mm-hmm.
really, the root of it is that internally, I don't know who I am. Because as we discover our true identity, like literally it changes. God was just dealing with me earlier about being able to listen to people with compassionate ears. How can I help to change the narrative of a story that I'm not willing to listen to? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes me not like knowing, not understanding my own story, not understanding who I am will begin to block and cause me not to be able to even hear compassionately others and work together to resolve the change. So it begins in me. So after I address me, then I can explore it to others. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. Wow. I'm like, we're trying to keep these within a certain time frame. We don't want to uh, prolong our time. We're as Martina just mentioned, hopefully something was said that will help you in your journey right now. Vernice mentioned it. Take a self-assessment right now. Take this time before this time before our next episode, which Martina led us into it perfectly. In that now, if we talk about me versus me, we're going to talk about me versus them. But
Mm-hmm.
first, we have to deal with me versus me. So take a self-assessment, begin to reflect, think about where you are, where you want to be. Allow yourself to go through some of the hard questions, because
Mm-hmm.
we're not saying it's easy. It's hard. Be real with you. You're going to feel the pain of it. You may cry, but let all of that happen, because it's going to help purge and get you to where you need to be, and being honest with yourself. We promote, we mentioned this, I think, on our intro, journaling. Get you a journal and write it out however you need to, explore those areas, to take the time to know you, because you're more than those outward things around you. You're more than the people that may strive to define you. And even your past situations, you're more than that. So we thank you for joining us at the table. Your story matters. Your story is important. We want you to start to begin to see the beauty in your story, and embrace your story and love your story, because from that story is where you're going to serve people, you're going to bless people, you're going to be able to sit at the table and have full security in yourself and confidence in yourself, because you're going to appreciate your story. Even the bad things are working and have worked and continue to work for your good. So thank you for joining us at the table for this episode. We will see you next time. Thank you. See you next
Bye.
time.
We love you.
Bye bye.